Hi, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, I am going to teach you some basics of JavaScript coding so you can get started with JavaScript coding. Okay, let us get back to the code editor. In last lecture, I linked this script.js file to this index.html file, and now we can write our JavaScript code in this script.js file, and it will be applied to this index.html file, which we are going to do for solo website, right? In this lecture, I just want to teach you how you can write code in JavaScript so you can be up and running with JavaScript. I'm going to resize my code editor and I'll hide this sidebar, and I'm going to open this index.html file inside the web browser, and I'm going to click on this open in browser icon. Okay, I'll go to script.js file. The very first thing I want to show you how you can write comments inside JavaScript file. Comments are very important. It helps you to explain your JavaScript code and it makes your code more readable. There are two ways of adding comments to JavaScript code. The first one is adding comments as a single line comment, and the second one is adding comments as multi-line comment. Let me first show you how you can add single line comment to JavaScript program. The single line comments start with double forward slashes, and any text between double forward slashes and the end of line will be ignored by JavaScript. Let me write some comment, then I'll explain it again. The comment is JavaScript basics. So by this way you write single line comment. The single line comment starts with double forward slashes, and any text between double forward slashes and the end of the line is considered comment in JavaScript program, and this text will be ignored by the JavaScript engine. The second way is to add comments as multi-line comment. The multi-line comments start with forward slash and star and end with star and forward slash. Any text between forward slash and star and forward slash will be ignored by the JavaScript engine. Let me add some text to this multi-line comment, and the comment is JavaScript basics. So by this way you can write multi-line comments. Let me extend this comment, like I'll say so by this way you write multi-line comments inside JavaScript, and the text between these characters will be ignored by the JavaScript engine. Okay, next I am going to show you how you can declare a variable in JavaScript. I am going to declare a variable. When you need to declare a variable in JavaScript, you use var keyword. This is JavaScript reserved keyword. So this var keyword and then the name of the variable, like my variable. The name of the variable can be anything and it should describe your variable. When you declare a variable, it has undefined value. The undefined means that the variable value has not been defined yet. Let me assign some value to this variable, and the value is welcome to JavaScript basics. Let me display this variable to the browser, and for that I'm going to use JavaScript document.write method. I'll write document.write method, and inside these parentheses I am going to write the variable name, which is my variable. To display a variable you don't need quotes around it. Simply add variable name to the write statement like this. I'll go ahead, I'll save this script, and I'm going to refresh this web page, and you can see that it just added a text at the end of this web page, and this is the value of this my variable which we just created. You can also use JavaScript alert method to display the value inside dialog box. Let me show you. I'm going to use the JavaScript alert method, and inside these parentheses I'm going to write the variable name, which is my variable. I'm going to refresh this web page, and you can see that this dialog box appears and it has the value of this variable, my variable. Okay, so this is how you declare a variable inside JavaScript program, I'm going to comment these two statements. I'll use single line comment like this way. Next, I am going to talk about conditional if statement. All programming languages enable you to make decisions, and we use conditional statements like if else. For conditional if statement, you use if keyword and condition inside these parentheses, and then you specify the action or block of code inside these curly braces. The if statement is used to check for some condition, and if the condition is true, then the block of code inside these curly braces is executed. You can use this conditional statement to perform different actions based on different conditions. Let me give you an example. For example, we have a variable and the value of this variable is 10. And now I'm going to define a condition inside these parentheses, and I'm looking for if the value of a is equal to 10. Then execute the block of code inside these curly braces. Let me display the value of a using document.write method. So if the value of a is 10, this condition will become true and this statement will be executed. And we can also define the else statement. Let me change the text for this document.write method. It should be like this way. A value is 10, and if this condition is false, then it should show a value is not 10. So in this case, the value of a is 10. This if condition is going to be true and this statement will be executed. I'm going to save this script and I'll show you the result. Okay, we have this result. A value is 10. Let me change the value of this a. I'll change it to 20. And now this if condition is going to be false and the control will be inside else statement, and this document.write method will be executed. So now we have a value is not 10. So you can see that the result of else statement. So this is how you use if conditional statement in JavaScript. Next, I am going to show you how you can write functions in JavaScript. To write function in JavaScript, you use function keyword and then you write function name like my function. And then you write opening and closing parentheses. After that, you specify block of code to be executed inside these curly braces. This is called function definition or declaration. The block of code inside this function definition will not be executed automatically until you call or invoke this function. To execute a function, you need to call or invoke it. To call or invoke a function, you write function name, my function, and then you use invoke operator, and then semicolon. This is invoke operator. Let me write a JavaScript statement inside these curly braces so we can see the result of this function. Let me display a text inside the web browser using document.ready method. And the text is, first I need to create a break, and then I'm going to display code execution of function. So this is function definition and this is the block of code inside this function, and this statement is going to call this function. I'll go ahead, I'll save this script and I'll show you the result inside the web browser. And now you can see that there is a statement code execution of function, and this is the execution of this JavaScript statement document.write method. So this is how you define a function and you call a function inside JavaScript. And I used this HTML break tag just to create a break between this line, a value is not 10, and this line, code execution. Okay. Next, I want to show you how you can use objects in JavaScript. Everything in JavaScript is an object. There are several ways of creating objects in JavaScript, but I'm going to use the easiest way, and it is declaring an object using literal. Let me show you. I'm going to declare an object. I'll write the var keyword and then I'll write the object name. For example, we want to create an object for a person. So I'll write the name of the object like person, and then I'll write equal opening and closing curly braces. And inside these opening and closing curly braces, we define object properties and methods. Let me define some properties, like the first name of this person should be, this is the property name, and then you write colon and then you write the value of property. And the first name is Irfan, and then you write comma and then you write the second property, and the second property is last name colon and the value of last name, which is Dayan. And then I'm going to add the height property, and the value for the height is 5.9. and then I'm going to specify the age property, and the age is 26. So this is how you define an object inside JavaScript. Objects are variable too, but objects can contain many values. A JavaScript object is a collection of name and values. And you can see that inside these curly braces, I just defined some properties. Now, if you want to access these values, you can use the object name and property name. Let me show you. I'm going to display the first name, last name, height and age for this person. And for that, I'm going to use the JavaScript document.write method. And inside these parentheses, first I have to define the break, and then I'm going to use the plus sign, and then I'm going to use the object name, which is person, and then I'm going to access the first name property like this way. And again, let me concatenate the break statement. This plus sign is basically concatenation operator. It is going to add a break just before this first name and last name. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this statement and I'll add it for last name. For last name, we don't need this break, so I'll simply write it like this way: person dot last name, and then I'm going to concatenate the break statement. Let me duplicate this statement for height and age. So in this third statement, I'm going to access the height, person dot height, and then I'm going to access the person dot age. So by this way, I can access the property of this object. You just write the name of the object and then the period sign, and then you write the property name. I'll go ahead, I'll save this script, and I'll show you the result inside the web browser. I'm going to refresh this page, and you can see that there is first name, last name, height and age of this person. So this is how you can declare an object in JavaScript, and this is how you can access property value of an object. Objects are very important and we are going to use it for our solo website. So please go ahead and do some practice and learn about JavaScript objects. Okay, that's it about JavaScript. I know it is too basic and too little, but I think it is good to start. You can find a lot of good resources to learn JavaScript language. There are great courses out there which are just focused on JavaScript. So if you want to take your web development career up, you must go deep inside JavaScript. I'll clean my script.js file because these were just JavaScript basics examples. Okay, in next lecture, I am going to start working on jQuery. which is basically JavaScript library. I'll see you next class. Thanks.